Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was the pride of Earth's fleet, armed with the best weapons humanity could build. The crew of 800 men and women served under him with complete trust. They had been patrolling the outer edge of human space for 6 months without seeing any trouble. Commander Lisa Bennett walked up to him with a datapad in her hand. Her face showed worry. Captain, we're getting strange readings from long-range sensors. Something big is coming our way. Morrison took the pad and looked at the numbers. The energy readings were unlike anything he had ever seen. How many ships are we talking about? At least 50, sir. Maybe more. They're still too far away to get a clear count. Bennett pointed at the screen. But Captain, these energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever they are, they have power we can't match. Chief Engineer Ryan Parker's voice came through the ship's speakers. Captain, I'm seeing these readings from the engine room. Should I start bringing our quantum drives online? Morrison pressed the communication button. Do it, Ryan. Get us ready for anything. Dr. Kate Sullivan entered the bridge carrying her research files. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms, though she had never actually met any. Captain, I've been studying what little data we have. If these are the same beings we've heard rumors about, they call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. What do we know about them? Morrison asked as Sullivan opened her files. Not much. The few reports we have say they claim to be gods. Every species they've met has either joined them or been destroyed. They've been conquering star systems for thousands of years. Bennett shook her head. No one can live that long. Maybe they can, Sullivan said quietly. The report suggests they have technology that makes them almost immortal. They can change matter with their thoughts and create energy from nothing. Morrison had fought in many battles during his 20 years in space. He had seen advanced alien technology before, but nothing like what Sullivan described. Still, he refused to believe anyone could be a real god. Lieutenant Alex Turner looked up from his communication station. Captain, I'm picking up a transmission. It's coming from the approaching fleet. Put it on the main screen, Morrison ordered. The bridge filled with a voice that seemed to shake the very walls of the ship. The words came in perfect English, though they carried a tone of absolute power and control. Small creatures of the primitive world called Earth, you stand before the might of the Zephyrian Empire. We are your new gods. Surrender your pathetic ships and worlds to us. If you obey, some of you may be allowed to serve us. If you refuse, you will be destroyed like all the others who dared to stand against divinity. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Morrison felt his crew looking at him, waiting for orders. He had faced enemy fleets before, but never beings that claimed to be gods. Ensign Peter Davis ran scans from his station. Captain, their ships are made of some kind of crystal material. They're not using normal engines, but they're moving faster than anything we've ever seen. Through the main window, Morrison could now see distant lights growing brighter. The Zephyrian fleet was approaching fast. Each ship glowed with an inner light that made them look like flying stars. How long until they reach us? Morrison asked Bennett. Checked her readings. 20 minutes, sir. Morrison turned to his crew. I want all hands at battle stations. Charge all weapons and raise shields. Turner's hands moved over his controls. Sir, should I send a message back to Earth Command? Do it. Tell them we've made contact with the Zephyrian Empire. Tell them these beings claim to be gods, but we're not buying it. Parker's voice came through the speakers again. Captain, quantum drives are online. But sir, if these beings are as powerful as the reports say, our weapons might not do much good. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. He had served in Earth's military since he was 18 years old. He had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile alien creatures. But he had never backed down from a fight, and he wasn't about to start. Now, listen up, everyone, he said to his crew. I don't care what these things call themselves. I don't care how powerful they think they are. We're human beings, and we don't bow to anyone. If they want our worlds, they'll have to take them. The Zephyrian ships were visible now without using the sensors. They moved in perfect formation, their crystal hulls pulsing with energy. Morrison counted at least 60 vessels, each one larger than his ship. The lead ship was massive, easily 5 times the size of the Retribution. Sullivan watched the approaching fleet with scientific interest. "Captain, I'm reading biological signs from those ships. The Zephyrians aren't just using advanced technology. They seem to be connected to it somehow." "What do you mean?" Morrison asked. "Their life signs are mixed with the ship's energy patterns. It's like they're part machine and part living creature." Bennett prepared the ship's weapons. "All gun crews report ready, Captain." "But sir, our missiles and lasers might not even scratch those hulls." Morrison nodded. He knew they were outgunned and outnumbered. But surrender was not an option. Earth was counting on them to stand their ground. The lead Zephyrian ship stopped just outside weapons range. A beam of light shot from its hull and hit the Retribution. Morrison expected damage, but instead his ship's systems began acting strangely. Lights flickered and computers showed impossible readings. Turner looked at his station in confusion. "Sir, they're doing something to our ship. It's like they're taking control of our systems without even touching us." A new voice filled the bridge. This one was deeper and more commanding than the first. "I am Supreme Overlord Vextara, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire and God of 1,000 worlds. You will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Your resistance ends now." Morrison rushed back to the bridge as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The main screen showed Zephyrian vessels moving toward the nearest human colony, a mining station called New Denver. "How long until they reach the colony?" Morrison asked. Bennett checked her readings. 18 minutes at their current speed, sir." Morrison turned to Turner. "Send a message to New Denver. Tell them to evacuate immediately." "Already done, sir." "But they only have 12,000 people there. Most of them are miners with families. They can't all get away in time." Morrison watched the alien ships moving like deadly stars across space. He had to find a way to stop them, but his conventional weapons were useless against their technology. Dr. Sullivan entered the bridge, carrying her scanner and a datapad filled with readings. "Captain, I need to tell you what I found when I scanned the Zephyrians." "Make it quick, Doctor." Sullivan pulled up her data on the main screen. "Their cellular structure contains quantum particles that shouldn't exist in living tissue. These particles let them manipulate energy and matter, but Captain, they're not natural." Morrison studied the readings. "What do you mean?" Someone added these particles to their bodies. "The Zephyrians weren't born as gods. They were made into gods by technology they don't fully understand." Chief Parker's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups from the lead Zephyrian ship. They're preparing to fire on New Denver." Morrison watched helplessly as the alien vessel moved into position above the mining colony. 12,000 innocent people were about to die, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. But Sullivan wasn't finished. "Captain, there's more. The quantum particles in their bodies are connected to each other through something called quantum entanglement. It's like they're all part of one big network. So, if we could disrupt that network, we might be able to cut off their power source." Parker joined the conversation from the engine room. "Doc, are you talking about using our quantum resonance array? That system was designed for communication, not as a weapon." "It might work," Sullivan said. "If we can generate the right frequency, we could break the quantum entanglement that gives them their abilities." Morrison felt hope for the first time since the aliens arrived. "What do you need?" "I need Ryan to modify the resonance array." "But Captain, the power requirements are enormous. We'd have to overload our main engines. We might destroy the ship in the process." Morrison looked at the screen showing New Denver. The Zephyrian ship was almost in position to attack. "How long would the modifications take?" Parker answered from engineering. "At least 6 hours, sir, maybe 8. "We don't have 8 hours. New Denver will be gone in 15 minutes. Bennett had been listening to the conversation while monitoring the tactical situation. "Captain, what if we attack the Zephyrian fleet? Now? We can't hurt them, but we might distract them long enough for the colony to evacuate." Morrison nodded. "Do it. All weapons, fire at will." The Retribution opened fire with everything it had. Missiles and laser beams struck the Zephyrian ships, but the weapons had no effect. The crystal hulls didn't even show scorch marks. Vexthara's voice filled the bridge. Pathetic humans. Your weapons are like insects trying to hurt a mountain. Watch as we demonstrate true power. The lead Zephyrian ship fired a single beam of energy at New Denver. The entire mining station, along with the asteroid it was built on, simply vanished. 12,000 people died in an instant, reduced to nothing by godlike power. Morrison's crew stood in shocked silence. They had just watched an entire colony die, and their weapons couldn't even scratch the beings responsible. "Captain," Turner said quietly, "I'm receiving transmissions from other human colonies. The Zephyrian fleet is splitting up. They're moving to attack all our outer settlements." Morrison felt rage building inside him. These aliens had just murdered innocent people to make a point. He turned to Sullivan and Parker. "How fast can you modify that resonance array?" Parker's voice was grim. "If I skip all the safety checks and push the engines past their limits, maybe 4 hours. "Do it, Doctor. Help him with the quantum calculations. We're going to stop these bastards." Sullivan nodded and headed for the engine room. As she worked with Parker to modify the ship's systems, she made another discovery. The quantum particles in Zephyrian technology followed specific patterns like code in a computer program. "Ryan, look at this," she said, showing him her data. "The quantum entanglement isn't random. It's organized, like someone designed it." Parker studied the readings while installing new components in the resonance array. "You're right. This looks like artificial programming, not natural physics. That means someone created this technology. The Zephyrians didn't develop their powers, they found them." Meanwhile, Turner intercepted more Zephyrian communications. Most of it was in their alien language, but the translation computers picked up fragments of conversation that didn't make sense. "Commander Bennett," Turner said, "I'm hearing references to something called the Makers in their transmissions, and they seem worried about something." Bennett was coordinating defense plans for the remaining human colonies. Worried about what? I'm not sure. But they keep mentioning an ancient war and something about their power source being damaged. On the main screen, Morrison watched Zephyrian ships attack 3 more human settlements. Each time, entire colonies vanished in flashes of light. Hundreds of thousands of people were dying, and he was powerless to save them. But deep in the ship's engine room, Sullivan made a breakthrough. "Ryan, I found it. The specific frequency that maintains their quantum entanglement." Parker looked at her calculations. "Kate, if this is right, we can disrupt their entire network. But the power surge might overload every system on the ship. Can we survive it?" "Maybe, if we route all power through the quantum array and shut down everything else, including life support, we might last long enough to broadcast the disruption frequency." Sullivan nodded. "How close do we need to get for maximum effect?" "We'd need to be right in the middle of their fleet." Morrison's voice came through the engine room speakers. "Dr. Chief, report to the bridge immediately." When they arrived, Morrison was studying tactical displays showing the positions of all Zephyrian ships. "What did you find?" Sullivan explained about the quantum frequency while Parker outlined the modifications to the resonance array. Morrison listened carefully, understanding that they were talking about a suicide mission. "If we do this, what are our chances of survival?" he asked. Parker was honest. "Maybe 30%, sir. The power surge could destroy us before we finish broadcasting the frequency." Morrison looked at his crew. They were all young people with families back on Earth. He was asking them to risk their lives on a theory that might not even work. Bennett spoke first. "Sir, those aliens just murdered 12,000 innocent people. If we can stop them, we have to try." Turner nodded. "I've been listening to their communications. They're planning to attack Earth next. This might be our only chance." One by one, the entire bridge crew volunteered for the mission. They knew the odds, but they also knew that someone had to make a stand against the beings who called themselves gods. Morrison made his decision. "Chief Parker, how long until the modifications are complete?" 3 hours, sir? You have 2 hours. After that, we're taking the ship into the heart of their fleet and showing these false gods what real humans are made of. The UHS Retribution moved toward the center of the Zephyrian fleet like a lone wolf charging into a pack of giants. Morrison stood on his bridge, watching 60 alien warships grow larger on the main screen. His crew worked at their stations, with calm determination, knowing they might not live to see another day. 2 minutes until we're in range, Bennett reported. All Zephyrian ships are moving to intercept us. Parker's voice came from engineering. Captain, the quantum resonance array is ready. But sir, once I start the power transfer, we'll have maybe 30 seconds before the systems overload. Morrison. Open ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. In 2 minutes, we're going to try something that's never been done before. We're going to prove that no one has the right to call themselves gods over other people. If we succeed, we'll save billions of lives. If we fail, at least we'll fail fighting. It's been an honor serving with all of you. Throughout the ship, 800 crew members prepared for battle. They sealed blast doors, secured loose equipment, and said quiet prayers for their families back home. Supreme Overlord Vexthara watched the approaching human ship from his command vessel. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he had almost forgotten: uncertainty. These primitive beings continued to resist even after seeing divine power destroy their colonies. Lord Vexthara, one of his subordinates said, the human ship is approaching our formation. Their weapons cannot harm us. Should we destroy them? Vexthara studied the small human vessel. Something about its approach bothered him. No, bring them closer. I want to understand what drives these creatures to such pointless defiance. On the Retribution, Dr. Sullivan monitored her instruments as they entered the Zephyrian formation. Captain, I'm reading massive quantum disturbances from all the alien ships. Their entanglement network is stronger than I expected. Will the disruption frequency still work? Morrison asked. I think so. But we'll need to broadcast at maximum power to break through their network. Turner intercepted another Zephyrian communication. Sir, they're talking about something called the Great Binding. It sounds like some kind of ceremony that connects all their ships together. Bennett tracked the positions of enemy vessels on her tactical display. Captain, they're surrounding us. If this doesn't work, we won't be able to escape, Morrison nodded. He had never intended to escape. This was a one-way mission to save humanity. Vexthara opened a communication channel to the human ship. Captain Morrison, you have impressed us with your courage, even if your cause is hopeless. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death. Morrison replied immediately. I told you before, we don't surrender to anyone, especially not to false gods who murder innocent people. False gods? Vexthara's voice carried genuine confusion. We command forces beyond your understanding. We reshape reality with our thoughts. How can you deny our divinity? Because I've seen real gods, Morrison said. They don't need to prove their power by killing people. They don't need to conquer anyone. They just love and protect and help others become better than they were. For a moment, Vexthara was silent. In his thousands of years of rule, no one had ever spoken of gods different from himself. The idea that divinity might mean something other than power over others was completely foreign to him. Parker began the power transfer sequence. Throughout the ship, lights dimmed as enormous amounts of energy flowed into the quantum resonance array. Captain, starting the resonance buildup. 30 seconds and counting. The Retribution began to shake as its engines pushed beyond their design limits. Warning alarms sounded as systems throughout the ship approached overload conditions. Sullivan watched her readings as the resonance frequency built to dangerous levels. The quantum field is responding, Captain. I'm detecting fluctuations in the Zephyrian network. On the alien command ship, technical officers noticed the disturbances. Lord Vexthara, we're reading strange energy patterns from the human vessel. Their quantum output is increasing beyond anything we thought possible for such primitive beings. Vexthara felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. Deep in his ancient memory, he recalled warnings about quantum resonance weapons. The makers, the mysterious beings who had created Zephyrian technology, had left records about such devices. "Destroy that ship immediately," he commanded, but it was too late. Parker reached the final stage of the power transfer. "Captain, broadcasting. The disruption frequency now." A wave of quantum energy erupted from the retribution and spread through space at the speed of light. When it reached the first Zephyrian ship, the effects were instant and catastrophic. The glowing energy fields around the alien vessels flickered and died. Their crystal hulls lost their inner light and became dull gray stone. Throughout the fleet, Zephyrians collapsed as their connection to the quantum network was severed. Vexthara felt his powers leaving him like water draining from a broken container. For the first time in millennia, he experienced physical pain as his enhanced body returned to its original biological state. Around him, his crew staggered and fell as their godlike abilities vanished. "What have you done to us?" He screamed at the human ship. Morrison's voice came through the communication channel, calm and steady. "We showed you what you really are. You're not gods. You're just people who found someone else's technology and forgot what it meant to be humble." Across the galaxy, other Zephyrian forces felt the same power loss as the quantum disruption spread through their entangled network. On 1,000 conquered worlds, enslaved species looked up to see their oppressors falling from the sky like broken angels. The Retribution's engines finally gave out under the strain. Emergency power kicked in, but most of the ship's systems were offline. Parker's voice was weak but triumphant. "Captain, we did it. The quantum network is completely disrupted." Bennett checked her sensors. "Sir, the Zephyrian ships are drifting powerless. Their weapons are offline, and their engines have shut down." Morrison felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They had succeeded, but the cost had been enormous. His ship was barely functional, and they were surrounded by angry aliens who might still have conventional weapons. Vexthara appeared on the main screen, but he looked different now. Without his energy field, he seemed smaller and more fragile. His skin had lost its divine glow, and his eyes showed an emotion Morrison had never seen in them before. Fear. "You have doomed us all, human," Vexthara said. "Without our power, the galaxy will fall into chaos. We brought order to countless worlds." Morrison shook his head. "You brought slavery. You convinced people they needed masters because you were too scared to let them be free. We are gods." Vexthara insisted, but his voice lacked its former authority. "No," Morrison replied. "You were people who got scared of being ordinary. So you found a way to make yourselves special and convinced everyone else they were less than you. But the only thing that makes anyone special is how they treat others." Sullivan detected new energy readings from the alien ships. "Captain, their CONVNTIO systems are coming back online. They still have regular weapons and engines, but something unexpected happened. Instead of attacking, several Zephyrian ships began moving away from the formation. Then more ships followed until only Vexthara's command vessel remained. Turner intercepted communications between the alien ships. So they're arguing among themselves. Some of them are saying they want to go home. Others are talking about finding their original worlds." Morrison realized what was happening. Without their quantum network binding them together, the Zephyrians were becoming individuals again. Many of them no longer wanted to follow Vexthara's orders. The alien overlord found himself alone on his ship, watching his empire crumble around him. For thousands of years he had ruled through divine power and fear. Now, with both gone, he discovered that his followers had never truly believed in him. "This is not over, human," Vexthara said, but his words sounded hollow. Morrison looked at the broken alien leader with something close to pity. "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." 6 months after the battle, the UHS Retribution limped back to Earth orbit. The ship's hull was scarred and blackened from the quantum overload, but it flew under its own power. News of their victory had traveled faster than their damaged engines, and the entire fleet was waiting to welcome them home. Morrison stood on his repaired bridge, looking down at the blue and white planet where humanity had begun its journey to the stars. His crew had become heroes across the galaxy, though none of them felt like heroes. They had simply done what needed to be done. Dr. Sullivan entered the bridge carrying a thick report. Her hair had turned gray during the months of research following their encounter with the Zephyrians, but her eyes were bright with discovery. "Captain, I've finished analyzing the Zephyrian technology we recovered. What I found changes everything we thought we knew about their empire." Morrison took the report and scanned the first few pages. "What did you discover?" "The quantum enhancement technology wasn't created by the Zephyrians. They found it on a dead world about 10,000 years ago. The original creators called themselves the Makers, and they were nothing like the Zephyrians." Sullivan pulled up holographic displays showing ancient records they had decoded. The Makers built this technology to help biological beings reach their full potential. They wanted to create tools that would eliminate suffering and bring peace to the galaxy. "What happened to them?" Morrison asked. "They transcended physical existence somehow. Before they left, they built safeguards into their technology. It was supposed to only work for beings who understood the responsibility that comes with great power." Morrison studied the ancient symbols floating in the air. "But the Zephyrians used it to conquer and enslave." "That's the interesting part," Sullivan said. "The technology was supposed to shut down if it was used for evil purposes. But the Zephyrians found a way to override the safeguards by connecting their entire species through quantum entanglement. They shared the moral burden across millions of individuals, making each one responsible for only a tiny fraction of their crimes." Morrison understood. "So no single Zephyrian felt guilty enough to trigger the shutdown." "Exactly. They created a system where everyone was responsible for everything, which meant no one was truly responsible for anything." Chief Parker joined them on the bridge. His engines were running smoothly again, but he had new respect for the power of quantum technology. "Captain, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Former Zephyrian colonies are declaring independence. Some are forming new governments, others are trying to return to their original homeworlds." Morrison nodded. The collapse of the Zephyrian Empire had created a power vacuum that stretched across half the galaxy. Some species were handling their freedom better than others. Commander Bennett entered with diplomatic reports. "Sir, we're getting requests for help from dozens of worlds. Some want military protection, others need help rebuilding their societies. A few are asking us to take over as their new rulers." "Absolutely not," Morrison said firmly. "We didn't fight the Zephyrians just to replace them as galactic overlords." Turner looked up from his communication station. "Captain, there's someone requesting permission to come aboard." "It's Vextara." Morrison was surprised. The former alien overlord had disappeared after the battle, and most people assumed he was dead. "Where is he?" "In a small ship just outside our security perimeter. He's alone, and his vessel doesn't have any weapons." Morrison considered the request. Vextara had been responsible for the deaths of millions of innocent people, but he was also a broken old being who had lost everything he thought made him special. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship. The Earth defense ship Liberty moved through space like a metal shark. 3 months had passed since the day that changed everything. 3 months since the Galactic Council showed their true face. Jake remembered that day well. Human colonies were under attack by the Zephyrian war fleets. Thousands of people were dying. Earth had called for help from their allies in the Galactic Council. The answer came back cold and clear: no help would come. Humanity was on their own. That betrayal cut deep. For 20 years, humans had served the Council. They gave technology, they shared resources. Human soldiers died protecting alien worlds. And when Earth needed help, the Council turned away. Now Jake watched the tactical display on his bridge. Red dots showed enemy ships moving toward human space. Intelligence reports painted a dark picture. The Council was not done with humanity. They wanted to finish what the Zephyrians had started. Lieutenant Amy Carter walked up to Jake with a datapad in her hands. Her face was tight with worry. "Sir, we got new intel from our people on Centauri Prime. The Council is moving their fleets." They call it Operation Cleansing Dawn. Jake felt his blood turn cold. The name said everything. The council did not just want humans gone from their space. They wanted humans gone from the galaxy. Every man, woman, and child on every human world would die if the council had their way. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 3 days, maybe less, Amy replied. "Our sources say the council fleets are already moving. They plan to hit Earth and all the colonies at the same time." Jake nodded slowly. He had expected this day would come. The council saw humans as a problem. Humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous for their clean and ordered galaxy. What the council did not understand was simple. When you corner a wild animal, it does not lay down and die. It fights back with everything it has. The holographic communicator on Jake's bridge came to life. Admiral Lisa Hayes appeared in the blue light. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes were hard as steel. Lisa had fought in every major human conflict for the past 30 years. If anyone could lead humanity through this darkness, it was her. "Jake," Lisa said without greeting, "I hope you got the intel reports. The council is done playing games. They want us dead, and they want it done quick." "Yes, ma'am," Jake replied. "Amy just briefed me. 3 days until they strike." Lisa's face was grim. "We need to move fast." "Start. Evacuation of all non-essential personnel from the outer colonies. Get our people to safety while we still can." Jake knew there was more. What about the final phase? Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke with the voice of someone who had seen too much war. "It's time, Jake. 20 years of planning. 20 years of preparation. The council thinks they know what humans are capable of. They're about to learn they were wrong. The final phase. Every human in the military knew about it, even if they did not know the details. For 20 years, humanity had been getting ready for this exact moment. Every diplomatic mission had been a spy operation. Every trade agreement had hidden military value. Every act of friendship had been calculated to gather information. The council thought humans were simple warriors, good for fighting but not much else. They were wrong. Humans were the best students in the galaxy. They learned from every species they met. They copied technology. They improved on alien designs. They turned everything into a weapon if they had to. "How many ships do we have?" "Ready?" Jake asked. "More than the council knows about," Lisa replied with a cold smile. "Remember, Jake, they only see what we want them to see. Those mining ships, those cargo haulers, those passenger liners, the council thinks they know what our fleet looks like. They're in for a big surprise." Jake understood. The real human military was hidden in plain sight. Ships that looked like civilian vessels carried weapons that could crack planets. Technology that seemed peaceful had deadly purposes. Humanity had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never let your enemies see your true strength until it's too late for them to do anything about it. Amy stepped forward again. "Sir." "Incoming priority message from Earth Command. President Thompson wants to address the council one last time." Jake and Lisa exchanged looks. Kate Thompson was known for her diplomatic skills. If she was going to the council, it could only mean one thing: humanity was about to give their final warning. "Good," Lisa said. "Kate needs to make this clear to them. They have one chance to step back from this path. One chance to let our people leave in peace. If they refuse..." She did not need to finish. Jake knew what came next. The galaxy was about to learn why predators should never corner their prey. The council had made their choice when they betrayed humanity. Now they would live with what that choice created. The stars outside the Liberty seemed to pulse with anticipation. War was coming. But this would not be like any war the galaxy had ever seen. This would be humanity unchained, showing their true face for the first time. The council wanted to see what humans could do when pushed to the edge. They were about to find out.